That's Nick. Like everybody know Nick.
Yeah, Nick gonna talk his talk.
He's not going to be a serious person, but he seemed to have gotten serious sitting on the couch with Kenyon. And Kenyon is a known fighter, but
Kenyon was ready to put
the
hands and feet
problem
on
with
him.
that is they're in LA. So Gil is sitting up there laughing and sitting back and not being a real boss, not intervening when your whole show could be canceled based on how this situation is handled. I'm almost certain that there's some people that love Nick Young that live in California
Damn.
that probably wouldn't appreciate that. So
Yep.
I don't understand why Gil was so quiet and thinking it was funny. He should have stepped in and said, all right, chill, chill, chill. Because it wouldn't be good for business to punch a guy from LA on camera where he probably got cousins and family members that's probably connected to something bigger than themselves. And then it'll probably be a big problem.
You never know.
Gil, you got to be a real boss. You know how LA works. You need to do what boss is supposed to do. Step in and figure this out before somebody put their hands on somebody. And then if that happens,
It's gonna spill
then it
over.
ain't going to be no more talking.
And the Gills Arena between those
Ain't going to
two.
be no more show then.
Kwame Brown reacts to Kenyon Martin versus Nick Young. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
I was just watching a video and I'm like, what in the world?
Crazy. Nasty work.
uh, I was watching Gil's Arena and I'm like, what is going on? What's up with these two niggas?
Kenyon wants smoke.
Kenyon Martin, excuse me, and Nick Young looked like they got into a real back and forth on live TV, I guess. Live.
Yeah, it was crazy because I just thought, Kenyon, he was talking about Coach Pop going through his situation and becoming the president of the Spurs. And I guess Nick Young was getting bored, wanted to show something to Gil on his phone and maybe been talking in the background. We're not able to hear it because, they got great mics. They're not able to pick up on the feedback, but Kenyon felt disrespected. He'd be like, bro, you gonna shut up and let me talk and what you doing over there and stuff like that. So Kenyon was being real passionate when it came to Coach Pop. But Kenyon, sometimes you'll have these drag out stories, drag out convos, and I guess Nick Young was like, bro, you talking like you on the porch right now. And it could have got ugly. I'm glad nothing crazy happened because if you're Gil, you're running a multi-million-dollar business with Gil's Arena and your media company. You want more investors and more sponsors coming to your show. So yeah, the back and forth could be cool, the yelling and screaming, but there should be a line that's not crossed, and it almost got crossed between those two.
Live TV, live internet. And I think this been brewing for a minute. Because I don't understand why Kenyon Martin was so upset with him. That's Nick. Like everybody know Nick.
Yeah, Nick gonna talk his talk.
He's not going to be a serious person. But he seemed to have gotten serious sitting on the couch with Kenyon. And Kenyon is a known fighter, but
Kenyon was ready to put
the
hands and feet
problem
on
with
him.
that is they're in LA. So Gil is sitting up there laughing and sitting back and not being a real boss, not intervening when your whole show could be canceled based on how this situation is handled.
Yeah, I think Gil was kind of uncomfortable. He's known kind of laughing it off. Similar to Nick Young, he doesn't really take himself too serious, but if you see things are escalating between your two guests, between your two homies, maybe if you're Gil, you may want to pause the show for a little bit. I think the fans will understand. No one wants to see those two get into it. So if you're Gil, you got to be mindful because there could be stuff that's involved between the two. Nick Young looks like he has a decent presence in LA. He may have the homies, and Kenyon, he ain't no punk. He not going to back down. So things could have got serious once they left Gil's home or wherever they're filming the show. So Gil, be mindful, bro. Don't let those two crash out and mess up that money.
As Kenyon is known for fighting, so if he get up and pop Nick Young in the face, uh, I'm almost certain that there's some people that love Nick Young that live in California
Damn.
that probably wouldn't appreciate that. So
Yep.
I don't understand why Gil was so quiet and thinking it was funny. He should have stepped in and said, all right, chill, chill, chill.
Yeah, technically he should have, but maybe Gil was scared. When Kenyon, he started getting aggressive, the loud talk, and he get, frustrated. Maybe Gil was like, look, bro, yeah, I'm the boss, I'm cool. But, Kenyon's like that big bro. When Kenyon get mad, maybe you want to let him blow off some steam. But if you feel as though it's gonna get to that certain point, your co-host or the other dude, he can only say so much, but they don't really care about him. Gil is cutting the check, so Gil, man, step up, man up. I know you may be intimidated by Kenyon Martin, but don't let him crash out. There's certain times to where they'll have certain guests there, certain contributors, and then they'll have Kenyon. Kenyon, he's cool. He knows the game of basketball, but sometimes he loses it. He gets agitated a lot, frustrated. If you cut him off, it's like it's going to be a war there. So, Gil, man, you got to be mindful, know how to diffuse situations. You're running a multi-million-dollar business, so you can't allow one person to jeopardize that.
Kenyon was obviously passionate about Greg Popovich. I don't know the backstory with him and Greg Popovich. Don't need to know. But all I do know is that was a bad look.
Yeah, could have got
It looked
worse.
like two niggas arguing over the fact that one nigga wasn't able to celebrate the white man the best way he could.
Damn.
You were talking while I was trying to celebrate this white boy.
I don't think it's that, man.
I don't know. I make everything racial, but that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything like no white or black. It was just like, Kenyon, he's passionate. He respects Coach Pop. And again, a lot of players, former players, current players, people in the media, they got nothing but good things to say about Pop. So when Kenyon, he gets in his passionate bag, he doesn't want people cutting him off. He wants everyone's undivided attention. Nick, he's not a serious person. He gonna browse his phone. He gonna giggle with Gil in the background. And, all the energy was pointed toward Nick Young. But Kenyon knows better than to come at Gil like that because, hey, underdog fantasy, Gil's checkbook, he the one that's writing that money, writing those checks. So he knows how to direct the energy toward Nick Young.
And instead of saying instead of saying shut the up, it could have been, yo, hold on, bro, keep it down over there for a second.
Yep. Certain little things like
If
that.
they was rocking like that got to be some smoke brewing in Gil's arena for them to talk. For Kenyon to say that on camera, you know how it's gonna get when, especially it's on camera, and the whole world can see.
Yep.
It's almost like you scolding a nigga like that. But then I don't understand why Nick also seeing the serious tone of Kenyon, why he ain't just be like, all right, we were just chilling over here with the phone. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah, he could have, been the bigger man, but a lot of people don't like that bully stuff. Everybody grown, down there 40 plus. So do you want someone scolding you in public, scolding you on live stream? So if you're Nick Young, he may be that cool, unserious person, but everybody got that breaking point. So it's only so much that they're going to let Kenyon Martin do and try to belittle somebody, little boy somebody. A lot of people ain't having that. And maybe Nick Young is like, look, I got the homies on speed dial. And Kenyon like, hey, I don't need nobody. I'm ready to fight everybody, 20 versus 1. So things got to be a little chill at Gil's Arena because you don't want things to spill over in the streets.
It was like both of them wasn't backing down. It was like some other shit had done to happen, and this is the hill they was gonna die on. Like, nah, I'm tired of you fucking with me.
Yeah.
So it's a problem right now. I think you say Kenya was second like Samuel Jackson on Django.
Damn.
Shut up, nigga. I'm trying to praise this white boy, nigga.
Damn,
Shut up.
man. It ain't like that,
Nah,
man.
I don't know the sentimental value of the situation. I don't know it, but
More to the story.
I do know that was a bad look. I wish they could have figured that out. And the media, he tried to do his job. He got loud. He dropped underdog in the promo.
Yep.
He did his job.
But again, he tried his best, but no one cares about the co-host, the host of the show. They just care about what Gil's going to say. I guarantee if Gil's like, hey, y'all boys chill out, things would have stopped there, and it could have continued off camera. But again, I know they want these viral moments, clip farming, running content, but running content could cost you a lot. Again, if Nick Young got ties to the streets or people that love him in L.A., Kenyon Martin, he's bull-headed, he don't care. He going to talk his talk to whomever. That's a recipe for disaster.
He blew some smoke. So y'all can try not to see their face. But Nick Young was upset. He damn near about to cry. Nick don't really do confrontation like that. He usually is a funny, a laughy-go-lucky guy. But now Nick box and all kind of shit. But I do know that that's not probably smart. Even though Kenyon can protect himself I hope they figure it out, which I know they'll figure it out, because it wouldn't be good for business to punch a guy from LA on camera where he probably got cousins and family members that's probably connected to something bigger than themselves, and then it'll probably be a big problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't want stuff to spill out in the streets. Nick could be that cool person on camera, but behind the scenes, he probably got a lot of homies, got a lot of love out there in them streets in LA. So if you're Kenyon, sometimes you got to be that bigger person too. Let me not take it up to that level. Let me adjust him off camera. Like, damn, bro, you was kind of cutting me off or talking in the background when I was talking about Pop. Can't do that no more. But if you're Kenyon, you don't want to wait. You can't wait after the show. You can't wait an hour and a half to kind of address the situation. You got to address it right now. So things could have been handled between the two better, but if you're Kenyon, man, it is what it is. He had to call him out.
If Nick has a family member that's connected to something different, then that could be a problem for Kenyon. So,
Yeah, you never know.
Gil, you got to be a real boss. You know how LA work. You need to do what boss is supposed to do. Step in and figure this out before somebody put their hands on somebody. And then if that happens,
It's going to spill
then it
over.
ain't going to be no more talking.
And the Gills Arena between
Ain't
those
going to
two.
be no more show then. He said that junk was funny. Yeah, it's funny till somebody get hit. And then it ain't going to be funny no more.
Yeah, so if you Gil, man, got to boss up, handle that situation, diffuse the situation. You don't want things to play out like that because it could be a terrible look. Those extra sponsors that was going to come in and pay you, now they could be, you know what, let's double back. Everything going on with Shannon Sharp and just, you know, sponsors representing these individuals, these entertainers, that could be a bad look. I think Underdog Fantasy, they probably love the promo just because it didn't get to that next level. But if you're having situations between two people in the workplace, Gil, you got to have that conversation behind the scenes. That can't happen no more. There's a line that was crossed and it could be bad for business in the near future.